We, for 100+ years overall, and 50 years here in Coachella Valley, have been providing. So I think that shows that over that time span, we know what we're doing and we do it well. And we don't want anybody living in the dark, so to speak, right? So there is no reason anybody with any type of vision loss cannot do everything you and I, any fully sighted person, does on a daily basis. We teach people how to do everything that anyone can do except drive, and it's coming soon, sooner than we want to think about, but it is coming. I just want to share with you from the 2021 census in our own database, we know that, and this is an under number because Hart, who ran some numbers for us as well, said that the 2019 census is a more informative census than the 2021, that they got fewer numbers during the pandemic. But even taking those numbers, we know that between Indio and Coachella, there are 3,200 people living with some form of low or no vision. Now, last year, our center served overall in all these places I mentioned, 600 people, but not 3,200. And of the 3,200 people between Indio and Coachella, we've only served 43. Think about it for a minute. 3,200 in your community. We want to tell you, we can bring them the free services they need. People should be able to do anything at all except the driving part. And just some of what we teach is how do we fit people and teach them how to use a white cane so that they can be just as mobile and get around anywhere as a sighted person. Any independent daily activity you can think of, from reading the mail, paying bills, medication management, personal hygiene, going to dinner or the movies with friends and not feeling isolated, because most of our movie theaters provide descriptive audio so that a person can get a headset and hear what's going on in the movies and go out with their loved ones. Every single one of our phones, computers, tablets already has free tools built into them, which we teach people how to use. There's magnification. There's what we call high color contrast. And what we refer to in the business as voiceover, that's Siri, that's Alexa, that's Google. So we can teach people who can't see to use every device that you and I use every day with their voices, and let them be a part of everyday living along with the rest of us. What I really wanted to share, another thing I really wanted to share with you guys is that we offer 3 terms of classes per year. We are currently in our fall term, and we are offering 15 classes and 12 workshops. We're a small center. And out of those numbers, we are offering 4 classes and 5 workshops, all in Spanish. Those workshops are scheduled to take place across the street at Coachella Library. We have offered an independent living skill across the street at Coachella Library for 3 terms now. And this term, we just decided we were sending our instructor. We did get 1 student. We normally require at least 3. If we can have 3 people come out for a workshop, 3 people come out for a class, I mean, you know, it's dollars and cents, that makes sense. We can send a staff member out. We had a person, she cannot get the transportation from her family to come to the class, but our instructor comes every Wednesday. She talks to Jesus across the way. She checks in at the senior center. We come to the senior center every couple of months. So what we're here tonight to ask each and every one of you, and it's what I say everywhere I go, each one of us in this room tonight knows someone or knows someone who knows someone who's living with diabetic retinopathy, glaucoma, macular degeneration, cataracts, and more. And if you want to give away something free to your community, please look through our materials. Please reach out to us for that tour so we can show you those really cool technological gadgets we were going to share with you last night. Magnifiers that I shared with a student who's been a student with us for 20 years. His vision has been diminishing over these last few years. And we heard rumor that he could no longer see. I ran into him a couple of months ago and I was on my way into a presentation. And he said to me, "Man, I can no longer see your face. It is so sad." And it did break my heart. It always does. But I'm so blessed because I have a job where I help people overcome every day. It's wonderful. And I happen to have one of those cool devices with me. It's called a Ruby magnifier. Costs $250. We have a grant program through our library where we can give those away for free. I took that out of my presentation kit and a brochure, and I showed it to Tony. Tony could see. I just really hope that you will reach out, that you'll call us. I hope everyone in this room will reach out and call us because it is free and we're here to help. And if you have any insight for me and my team on how we can help convince your constituents, your citizens to come out and take our classes and participate in our workshops, we are happy to hear it because we're not going to stop coming. We're not going to stop offering this kind of programming. We're going to keep doing it because we know what happens here in Coachella. We know what happens in Thermal and Mecca. People say they're going to come. And in the past, we've come, but we haven't made it all the way through because we've hit these roadblocks. Help us get past these roadblocks. Help us help your community. And I thank you all so much for your time.
Thank you.
Thanks so much. Any comments, questions?
Thank you. We do have a very high diabetic population, and we've known that we've been flagged red for a very long time because of it. So I'm very happy that you're here. And to the city manager, if we can maybe set up a tour date to visit the site. And then also if you can provide some of that information so that we can put it over our social media pages, the promotion of the classes. And I think that's going to help a bit. If we can help in any other way to get this information out. I think that there's sometimes some reluctance from Latino families because they normally think that there's a fee associated with it at some time. And so that's understandable that there's that, financial fear, but it's just getting that information out. We do have a few community events as well. And, a lot of folks come up and set up their table. And I think that would also be very beneficial, for you to kind of directly interact with some of those residents. But if there's anything else you can think of, I would gladly support in any way I can.
I really appreciate it. We have been out here a few times with the Central Neighborhood Clinic across the street. I think we were at all of their health fair events last year. We will continue to do that. I forgot to mention, besides the services being free, this is regardless of immigration status. And I always like to be transparent. If someone has low vision, that means they have any remaining vision left. We do require a doctor's referral. We will help people get that referral from their doctor. It doesn't require a visit. We also understand that some people, and we can also take those referrals from Mexico. Additionally, if someone needs to see an eye doctor, we did have access to certificates for free doctor's appointments. We know at this moment, unfortunately, like everything else in the world, they have gone away. And I don't know when they're coming back. However, we do work with a lot of the doctors here in the Valley. We partner with InterCare here in Coachella. And, of course, a lot of the doctors and a lot of the bigger practices, we will do everything in our power to get a person a doctor's appointment so that they can get that referral.
Have you been associated with Coachella Valley Volunteers in Medicine?
Yes, so we are partnering with them as well. We've also partnered with Public Unido. So in this past year, we've been successful about meeting organizations who also serve the same community. And this is the start of our new fiscal year since July. And so this year, the team is really focusing on how do we translate the work we've done so far into really bringing bodies into the center or meeting them here. And even for a low vision appointment or an assessment, again, if if even we get one, we will come to the library. We want to do everything in our power to make it as easy as possible for folks. And I sort of feel, in regards to your question, my sense too in this past year is, we do try to stress that it's free and that it's regardless of citizenship. But I understand it's a trust issue. And we're not going to do any harm. I mean, all we're doing is providing things just to make life easier. And I feel like, too, that I feel this is a beautiful culture that supports family. And I'm so impressed. I so love it. I'm just learning so much. And I think sometimes, this is a case of, my mom doesn't need this. I will get my mom's coffee. I'll make my mom's dinner. And I understand that. But mom, every once in a while, may want to pour a cup of coffee for herself. And I'm happy to have any advice on how we conquer that as well.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
very much.
Moving on to item number 8, 2023-2024 special event calendar. Maritza. I stepped out. Hi, Maritza.
Hi. The item I have before you is just an update on special events. I think I came before you guys early part of this year in late January or early February. So I just like to get before you at least every 6 months to make sure our dates are good. And then if we can put that up, please, I think I have it on there. We already had the grito, pretty good, really good turnout. Actually, I think we had over 15,000. So that was on September 17th. And the event that follows that is, we already had our community cleanup. We have our Movies in the Park series going on now at Bagduma Park. We are on week 3 this weekend, and I believe it's Spider-Man in the Spider-Verse. So for those that are Spidey fans, we welcome you. And then next weekend we have a Scooby-Doo Halloween movie the following in celebration of Halloween next week. Although not on here, we do have our Halloween Carnival in collaboration with Desert Recreation District, which is on Thursday, October 26th. And then we will be celebrating our annual October 21st, our annual TTC event, Tacos, Tequilas, and Chavelas Festival at Veterans Memorial Park. We invite everyone to come out and to check it out. We do have the Coachella TTC website up for those that would like to purchase tickets and get a taste of Coachella through the event, as you will be able to taste 12 different taco vendors at the event. And then on November 4th, we have Run with Los Muertos. November 11th, we have 2 events. One in the morning, we celebrate our veterans in the morning with our Veterans Pancake Breakfast, and Synergy at Dateland Park in the afternoon. November 18th, our community cleanup, and that one is at Las Flores Park. On November 29th, we will kick off our holiday season with lighting our holiday tree just outside of our City Hall facility. And on December 8th, we have our holiday parade. And we've spoken with members of our holiday parade committee. And this year, they would like to kick off a Whoville Christmas. So it will be a Coachella Whoville holiday parade. And the application should be available for those that want to start submitting the end part of next week. And we have then starting the 2024 year, we will have a community cleanup on February 10th, March. We have our Suavecito Sundays that kicks off on the first Sunday. It goes 3 Sundays, and then the 4th week of the month, we have our Mariachi Festival. And in between there, we have our Day of the Young Child on March 9th. And Arbor Day, we're aiming for April 6th to do a tree planting event with the community. April 6th, we will also have a community cleanup for those that want to clean out their spaces, the garages, backyards, items they don't want. And I know it's kind of fallen off, but in the May, we have our movie series in the park again. And the one I was hoping for some direction, I'm sorry that it's a little cut off on the bottom. We have a lot of events, is the 4th of July. And I was hoping for some direction on that one. So this year, the 4th falls on a Thursday. So we've looked with our vendor for, we'd like to get ahead of this and get the fireworks locked in. So the 3rd is a Wednesday. Staff works that day. The 4th is the holiday. So we would observe the holiday on the day of, and we would be closed that day. But we could still have the event that day. And then the 5th is a Friday. I know that sometimes council has steered away from having it on the 4th so that families could celebrate that day together, barbecuing and such, but all 3 of those days are options. We think that the 6th on a Saturday might be a little too far away. So those are the 3 dates that we would suggest to the council. The 3rd Wednesday, the 4th being a Thursday, and the 5th being a Friday. And I don't know if the council would be willing to give some feedback on that one.
Yeah, I think in my opinion, the best day is probably the 3rd. Because it's before we've had it before the last few years, and I think it works out. You know, after 4th of July, people are like, no more fireworks, right? Like and people still continue. That's my thought. The 4th, for staff but also for community, it's a day to be with your families, and I'd hate to take that away from our staff. I know like it's a great event that people like to work at, but I know people also like to do their carne asadas and their barbecues at home. So I'd be really opposed to having it on the 4th.
Maritza, just on the weekdays, how long would the event go to?
So it would still be the same time, 6 to 9. So
Okay,
from a staffing perspective, having it on the 3rd would be actually quite a savings with regards to OT and such, because we'd already be here.
Yeah.
So we would be spending that day already mobilized to set up for the event.
okay,
Yeah.
good.
So
The
if
30th.
The 3rd is,
I'm hearing the 3rd, then
Yeah.
that gives me direction to be able to work with our vendors. for the
Perfect.
3rd.
We're page
Is
3rd.
that-
3rd.
yes.
Oh, good. I have 2 other events that I wanted to bring up that we did last year.
Okay,
And I'd like to see them again. One in March, towards the end of March is Cesar Chavez Day.
okay.
It was a great turnout. The community loved it. We had food, and I could reach out to the Cesar Chavez Foundation to see if Paul Chavez, the son, Andy Andres, that can join us that day.
That
Or
would be wonderful.
yeah, and so but I don't have a date for you until I know what. I'll
Okay.
reach out to them and get
So
a
once
date.
you get us a date, then we can put that on the agenda to add that event
Okay.
back on.
Yeah, I think that was a great turnout that we had in the community. And the second event that I think we were involved, your team was involved, but we weren't as involved as the city, was the Farmchella event.
Oh, okay.
That happened sometime in April. And we had thousands of people come out, to collect food, to collect other resources. And we partnered with Celebration Nation, a group, a nonprofit out of San Jose. Florida's a great friend, and really brought a lot of the resources. But I think if we as a city, wanted, I think, Frank, Dr. Figueroa, you were president, and it was a great turnout. And so I think that we can invest something on our end to make it an even bigger event this year. We had a Rancho Humilde, Jimmy Humilde donated the music, and there was Florida really helped put it all together. But I think, and then obviously your team helped store a lot of these stuff that got here in advance. So I just like to see that will come up too, and I'll get you a date as well, and then bring it back for council discussion.
I can reach back out to Florida.
Yeah, that'd be great.
And then we can bring that back if that can happen
Yeah,
again this year.
yeah, if you can
So
connect with
definitely
her,
I'll connect with her.
that way we can set it, bring it back. And because I think both those events, in terms of community turnout, they're free events for community, and the latter, people leave with a lot of stuff. And I thought it was, we even had that day we had too much donations that at like 10 p.m. when we're done, like at the end of the day, we called the Galileo Center to come pick up a truckload of stuff, because there were still donations left over after people left and came back for stuff. And so I'd like to bring it back.
Okay, I'll reach out to her and we'll bring those 2 items back to council
Yeah.
for direction.
Any other comments or items that council wants to see?
Maritza, I would like to bring back, at least for the organizational part, when it comes to the holiday, to the parade. And I know you're probably tired of hearing it, but we have to figure out some way to just reduce the amount of time, because people are out for a really long time. And I know we're like 3 hours and a half. And so if possible, if we can bring it back and then just discuss like, okay, what are the plans, and then what efforts are we making to shorten the amount of time? that were out there as
We,
well.
we can bring the item back and we can have that conversation, but it really does come down to number of entries. So, we have spoken to the school district, reducing their performance time is just really not feasible for them to still do a performance up there. But I'm happy to bring that conversation back to the council.
And then can we invite B so that
Yeah,
we can have that discussion
definitely.
here? Because I would never discourage any applicant from, attending and participating because I know those kiddos and they have such a great
They look
time.
forward to it. It's
They
really
do.
a fun
I,
opportunity.
I'm wondering if maybe, and I know Councilmember Jacinto had mentioned it, that maybe if we can set up a stage separate where they maybe can perform there. And I'm gonna ask B if she's open to maybe just setting it up a little differently for that the others just to kind of, go through. Because I know the applicants are really excited and I'm excited to see them. But then there's also all these like family members and seniors and it's cold, we're out there till like 9:30 and 10. And so that's the downfall of that. Yeah. But if you can have her.
We can have the conversation brought back for council discussion. Most
Thank you.
definitely.
No, awesome. I think that's it. Thank you so much, Maritza.
Of course.
Moving on to the item number 9, Civic Center Chambers rendering and relocation.
It's also me.
All good.
This item is for the council. It's been a bit since we discussed this item. This is actually part of the ARPA funding projects that were identified early on. Recently, we had architect do some work for us to do just some concept drawings and bring this back to council to see if there's interest in moving this forward. And the intent of this was really to upgrade our technology and making council meetings and commission meetings more accessible to the public, right? So that we would have the technology to Zoom all of those meetings. It is a little bit challenging here at the council chambers to do all of those meetings for the reason that we also have the Mexican consulate that has regular hours here, right? So the third week of the month, they are here for an entire week. Between that and our planning commission, parks commission, the council meetings, it's become a little bit challenging to juggle. In addition, we did look at the civic center to see if we can accommodate a council chambers at that location with the upgraded technology that would be needed to do that. Isn't not cooperating. Sorry. So I think I can probably speak to most of this, and the presentation was included in the packet, if it's possible to view there. So we did look at the hearing room at the Civic Center. And at the hearing room, we are able to change the layout there so that we would have a closed session room. We would change the direction of where the dais is there to the other wall, to the opposite wall. So currently, as you walk into that hearing room, the dais is on the right. And we would recommend moving it to the left and then pushing back the walls a little bit so it's a straight space on the back. It's not opening.
Yeah.
I'm having trouble with that too.
If you go to the agenda item and you put the HTML one, it's faster
Yeah.
than trying to download the packet. Like
I already have the packet downloaded. I just go into straight links.
I haven't,
That's okay.
is everyone able to see it? Because I do have an extra copy. Do you want me to bring it up?
That's
Okay.
okay. I think I can.
So the vision on here is that we would be able to create a dais there with direct connection to a closed session room directly behind it. That being said, capacity at this location would also accommodate roughly 180 seating. Whereas this building here, capacity seated is 56. So we would be able to upgrade the dais to include all of in-mounted screens for all of the members that are seated at the dais. The dais would seat the council, the city manager, the city clerk, the city treasurer, the city attorney. I think I got everyone. So it'd be a total of 9 seated up on the dais. And it would also include the automated voting. So all of that would be, we would move our council operation, our council chamber operation to the 21st century, right? A lot of things that we have not upgraded in this space for some time. This project would cost, it's estimated about $1 million. So it would improve that space. it would increase your capacity, and that space would still stay very mobile so that we would be able to use that room for multiple different meeting rooms. So we would be able to clear the chairs, use it for different types of meetings as well.
Right, so where is the funding coming from?
It was identified primarily ARPA money. Believe 600 to 800 would be ARPA, and there'd be a net difference of about 200. We would know more after we fully design it and we bid it. I primarily fully design it. Right now, these are just concepts.
So, I mean, for us to move forward with the concept, then are we having a discussion that we're gonna then eliminate this space?
We
Is
would
that-
open this space would not be eliminated, but we would be able to use this for meeting spaces. We do find that we end up not having a lot of available meeting space. The 3 rooms at the library get booked very quickly. And this would be another option for meeting space for those that are looking for meeting space in the downtown.
So the $1 million that we're talking about is the additional seating, and then we're moving the dais
It's
to the opposite side.
Yes, so it's all the electronical components for sound and audio, flat, visual aids for the public, for presentation. We're
Oh.
refreshing the room to have, a refreshed, a more modernized, refreshed look. Thank you.
And then in the expansion, then it would also eliminate a current conference space.
In the expansion, can you go back one, please? I'm sorry. Thank you so much. So in the expansion, what you do see is that the conference space directly behind.
It's made smaller.
It is smaller. There's one conference room that's directly behind that wall that almost never used, to be very honest.
That's the one that's been eliminated.
So it's not fully eliminated, but it's shrank quite a bit. Yes, you're correct. But that room, honestly, we rarely use that for meeting space. The one that is kind of behind the cashier space, that would be your closed session. And you would have direct access from the closed session conference room to the dais. So it would make that transition a lot
Yeah.
smoother.
This is
And this is the space that we conceptually envisioned.
this is a big item. I see the benefit of modernizing, of having more space for a community. I'm also concerned if community will feel that we are less accessible now that we're not in downtown. And so I don't know, how would you all respond to that? Because this is staff initiated, but at the end of the day, like we vote on it and we accept it, and people will come to us like, why'd you guys move over there? Or
I think that the community has already found us over there, so they know to go for services, they're going in that direction. For permits, for facility rentals, for everything, they're going to Enterprise Way. In addition, what this does is it increases the accessibility of our to us by making all the technology get improved. So I think in addition, we're also finding that the community is also asking for rental spaces, and that opens up this space for that.
I agree. I think it would be more accessibility, just because our offices don't exist here anymore. And so the only time people come here is when there's a meeting. What's happening is that because people come here before, the day before, the day after, they think that this chamber actually doesn't even exist because the door is always locked. So I do believe that it'll be more accessible there, since our residents are already going over there to, pay for fees or events. My concern though is that because we've been pulling ARPA funds, I do want to know where we're at with them. And if we pulled money out from something where it was specified, is that if we replace those funds. So I don't want to take from anything else that goes directly into the community, even though I get that this is more for the community because we're making the space larger and, we're up to date on technology, making it easier for people to access us. I also think that the camera system here is really odd, because normally you get a full view of all the members, and here it's only, if one of us is talking, but I do want to learn is where we're at with ARPA money, what's been reduced, and if we replaced or identified any other ways to replace those funds. So I do think that I really do think that we should revisit bringing back the ARPA money and seeing what we have left, what we identified during the study session, and seeing where we go from there. I do think that it's time for us to revisit that. I know we've seen it back and to Gabriel. I know that we've seen that back in, was it in 2021, 2020? And so I do think that, it's about time that we revisit that item.
Yeah, we definitely can bring that item back on the 25th of October and to revisit what we've been spending. I think we have about 3.3 million left over in ARPA funds. This was one of the projects that were earmarked, and just like Mertz indicated, just an improved building, modern building, ADA compliance, fire sprinklers, all the perks, more capacity, technology, electronic voting, so everybody votes at the same time. I think it's just a safer, more productive building that's more feasible. And to answer the question, we still have our downtown presence with our library, our fire station, our new library annex, our senior center. So we're not abandoning the downtown. We're just renovating certain facilities to improve them. And we think right now the way this space is used, it's unused as well, right? We use it two, 3 times a year. This will make it more robust, more usable space. So, but we definitely can bring that other discussion item back. The way it's been earmarked, it's about 600,000 to 800,000. It's not taking away from anything that we've identified, but we can definitely bring that other discussion back.
So today you just need direction. We need to bring it back to council to approve, right? It's not an action
Yeah,
item.
this is not an action item. What we're looking to see if there's interest in us proceeding in moving this project forward. And if there is, we would bring the item back for appropriation.
I would take into consideration to continue to visit it and see what else that we can decide upon. But I do think it's equally important to see the funding. When we use the word earmark, we really didn't earmark it. It really didn't go to any account or line item. It's just sitting there under ARPA money so that we couldn't push it to any other areas if we want to. So I would like to discuss that item if it's okay with council to bring it back and see where we're at. $1 million is quite a bit of money, to use on it. For me, the financial part is a concern. Yeah, but I do, and just for me to wrap up, I also understand that in this building is quite unusual not to have city offices surrounding it. And so it is a bit unusual. And for some of our nonprofits, they have access to this area, and that's highly unusual. We can't control who comes in and who comes out. And so it is a very special type of situation that we have here in the city of Coachella. And you're right. We've considered doing many, many things with this building because the reality is, for me, it does need to be renovated, the entire building. And having City Hall here has sometimes brought some challenges to that because we do have meetings here. And so I do think that it should have further conversation.
Let's bring it back as an action item, next council meeting. I'd hate to just prolong things for the sake of prolonging it. I think we could bring back both the item of the ARPA funding and this at the same time, obviously different items, but let's just bring it forward. Next meeting also will have, more council members present. So yeah, let's just bring it back. I think next we should know, next meeting, whether or not we're gonna move forward with this. That way we stop spending money on it or we continue doing that. So yeah, so today's not an action item. There's no more questions. I think we should move to the next item.
Just to clarify, it was $600,000 to $800,000
Of ARPA money, the difference would come from probably general fund.
That was
Thank
my
you.
question.
Yes.
All right, moving forward to agenda item number 10, presentation City of Coachella Home Enhancement Program.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor Pro Tem and council members. Selena Jimenez, Economic Development Director. So the item before you is a very exciting item for our city. The city will be rolling out its City of Coachella Home Enhancement Program. Thank you. And so let me tell you guys a little bit about the City of Coachella Home Enhancement Program. So the city will be providing grants to rehabilitate stick-built and manufactured or modular homes that are attached, affixed to owner-owned private land and owner-occupied single-family residences in the city of Coachella, which is a cooperating city within the county of Riverside. The county of Riverside will be assisting the city in providing administrative support for the program. We expect to serve between 5 and maybe 10 homeowners that need assistance, given our allocation amount. So the HEP grants can only be used to assist low-income qualified homeowners with home exterior repairs, which could include minor roof repairs, broken, missing windows, exterior paint, fence repair, and other eligible exterior improvements. The maximum grant amount is up to 50,000, and the city does reserve the right to increase the maximum HEP grant limit to address all necessary health and safety improvement discoveries. So to apply for the home enhancement program, there will be a non-refundable application fee of $35 per household, and that will be required to process the application. Applications will also be reviewed and evaluated on a first come, first served basis. And some of the qualifying thresholds about the program. So to be considered for a HEP grant, applicants must meet the following qualifying thresholds. Have a total household income that is no greater than 80% of the median household income for Riverside County for the household size. The applicant must also be the owner occupant of the property, and the property must be located within the city of Coachella areas and other areas of the county, because since the county is assisting us with this program, other people are also eligible to apply, but we are limiting our program just to the city of Coachella. The dwelling must also be single family home affixed to the property owner's private property. The property must be located within a community where the county's HEP activities are being carried out. So in Coachella, most of our census tracts are actually low-income disadvantaged, so we will meet that threshold. And one homeowner must be either a U.S. citizen or a qualified alien as per section 431 of the Personal Responsibility and Work Opportunity Act. Additional qualifying thresholds. So program staff will prioritize the repairs and improvements based on health, safety, neighborhood enhancement, and needs of the property. Program staff sustains the right and has the discretion to determine and deny the approval of any application based on the reasonableness of the exterior repairs requested for the home. So I just want to emphasize that this program is strictly for the exterior of the home, not the interior. All properties must be owner occupied, single family, stick built, or manufactured or modular homes affixed to the property owner's private property. Property must have been owned by the applicant for a minimum of 1 year before the application. And the said property must be the only real property owned by the applicant. And here are some examples of exterior repairs. It could be a minor roof repair, roof replacement if necessary, replacement of broken or missing windows and doors for energy efficiency purposes. You can repair or replace damaged and falling fencing, the equivalent to existing fencing material, exterior paint and other improvements, exterior paint walls and trim, repair or replace flashing and guttering, repair or replace porches and steps, repair exterior foundation walls, and the removal of aging, dangerous trees and or hedges. So to be considered for this service, though, the homeowner will be required to install a water smart landscape gardening and or vegetation upon project completion, which the city has a turf replacement program. So we will assist with that if needed. And here's a visual of the exterior repairs to kind of give people an idea of what we mean by exterior. So roofing, gutters, the siding, exterior repairs, windows, doors. So strictly the exterior of the property. Eligibility requirements. So the household living in the property must qualify as a low-income household at or below 80% of the county median income per HUD income limits. So the property must be currently insured by a valid property insurance policy, including flood coverage if in a flood zone. And in some instances, the house may need to have repair measures to be insured. If these conditions exist, the repairs that will enable the homeowner to obtain insurance may be completed, but the homeowner's insurance must be obtained before project completion. Also, individual properties will be thoroughly assessed on a case-by-case basis. Program staff reserves the right to deny eligibility in the event of any of the following, So for example, if the total anticipated cost of the improvements or enhancements are less than $1,500 or exceeds the maximum amount of $50,000, program staff might consider that as infeasible. And if inspection results prove that substantial improvement outcomes will not be realized, or the rehabilitation of the property will not be cost effective for the owner or the city. Participants are required to enter into a 5-year covenant agreement. So this is actually very nice. People are not having to go into 15 or 25-year agreements. So this will restrict the use of the property to an affordable single-family dwelling. It encumbers the land and restricts the sale and future loans against the property for the duration of the agreement. It also requires that the property owner provide continued maintenance of the entire property, interior and exterior, for the duration of the agreement. And upon review and approval, program staff will prepare all the applicable documents and schedule a meeting with the homeowner. Documents include the agreement between the county and homeowner, also the city, the agreement between homeowner and the contractor, the signed pre-construction conference letter, and a covenant agreement for the 5-year period. And our last slide talks about eligible repairs. So in order to ensure that the goals of the housing enhancement program are met, the following list of specific priorities has been established to help serve as a guide and are not meant to exclude other improvements. Number 1, health and safety issues and systems, exterior improvements, energy efficiency measures such as the doors, windows.
It doesn't look
weatherization.
like you have an app named Ring Bones. You can search for it.
Number 4, address repairs needed for residential homes that meet the city and county's CDBG assisted code enforcement policies and procedures, definition of deteriorated and deteriorating, adopted in November 2017. So this simply means that people have to have been kind of identified as, like their property needs severe attention because they're deteriorating. And then certain improvements are subject to specific requirements and limitations. Again, this program is highly anticipated by the community. I did receive several phone calls today about the program, and I've received many calls over the period that we've been saying that we want to do this. And so the city will roll this out. We're going to send a mailer to everyone. So everyone will get a mailer about it. And we're also going to include it in our quarterly newsletter so that people can see that this program is open and available. And so the applications, like I mentioned, will be on a first come, first served basis. And so we're hoping to serve as many people as possible, but just given how much money we have, it could be maybe between 5 and 10 households. We're hoping for more because some people might not need the entire amount. They might not need up to $50,000 worth of repairs. And so it was determined to offer up to 50,000 just because these days prices have really severely increased. And so that's a good amount. It's better than coming back and saying, I need an additional amount. So it's just an up to, and if they need less, then great. If not, then it'll be up to, 50,000.
Yeah, Selena, I have 2 questions.
Yes.
It's a great program. The mayor's been asking for this since we were doing the restrooms. Since it's just such a short amount of people applying that will be able to benefit from this, have we reconsidered the first come first serve basis approach? I would get it if it was like hundreds of people, but when it's such little approach, I would rather see how we can process by need, by which application tells us that that's more attractive to me. So that's my first question.
So we did have that discussion, considering the various options, right? And apparently it is more fair and equitable to just do receive and review, because I did make that point that, well, couldn't I just go with people that have the most need? And I was told, no, but now you're discriminating. You have to, whoever submits an application, you have to do it like that. And so I was like, okay. So just to make it fair and equitable for everyone. And of course, we'll review everything and find out if, because there might be someone that just needs way more than the 50,000. And so, how I mentioned, we at least have that discretion to be able to give them a little more help if needed. So we do have that flexibility. And actually the county did offer, to extend additional funding support if they see that, if we can help more people, then that they're gonna help us. So that's a really good thing.
All right, yeah, I'm glad the conversation, I trust you all have had this conversation. When we did the UBI program for undocumented families, we chose not to do the first come first served basis because it actually proves to be unequitable. Because the people that become aware of this first are people that have access to social media, that have access to, listening to meetings, whereas, other residents that don't have access to, internet on a daily basis because of other needs won't be the first to apply. So that's why we did that then. And so I know that, so I disagree with the argument, but I trust that you all have vetted the process. I just, it's long, and I'm sure we'll discuss it when it comes as an action item. The second question is, let's go back to the qualifications in terms of, you mentioned US citizens. Let's not use the word alien, but how?
Well, the reason that they, because it is a federally funded program, so HUD has specific guidance.
So it's not by us, it's by the federal
Yes,
government.
correct, yeah.
That, and so what did it mean? What does it mean by the second term, just so crazy that we still have this terminology. Who qualifies under the, the title that's not US citizen? And
Basically, the program is trying to be very inclusive. So as long as you have one person that is either a US citizen in the household, or the other term, the qualified alien, they're going to be eligible for the program. So actually HUD perceived this to be inclusive. I know it sounds not so inclusive by labeling people and, citing, this Personal Responsibility and Work Opportunity Act. But apparently it's supposed to be pretty inclusive and not discriminatory, because it only requires that one person in the household is either a US citizen or a qualified.
green card holders,
Yes, they're eligible.
but if there's just one green card holder, but no US citizen, would they not?
They'd be eligible.
Okay, so as long as they're permanent residents and not necessarily US citizens, would be able to be fine.
Correct.
Okay, those are my two questions.
Just a question.
Yes, sir.
So find it interesting. It's a first come first serve program. There's no like ranking, like, a lot of things. It's like a ranking choice, based on, like real need, but if they see it that it's that, then
Yeah, I
you already
agree with
have,
you, Doctor.
it's like, I personally think like, it's a score rubric, because when you apply other programs like state programs, they do a whole rubric, like, well, there's a new housing program that's coming from the state. It's a lottery this time. And so, that I think that's just not even fair at all, because it's like a chance just because I missed it by one number. But, if you've already had that conversation, then, they'll stay firm where they're at. But, thinking, ranking number, because if, say, person A submits it and they have a like $5,000 one, in my logic, it's like, as people, do it, they have 5,000. So you put all this in the bucket and you spread that money longer. So you get more than 10 people, you get 15, 20, 35 people, right? Because some projects might be not as expensive, if it's just like updating their siding or something that's easy for them to do, but I understand that construction costs have like doubled or
Yes.
tripled in some senses. So, but those are just my comments on it. But you said you already had this discussion, but
Yes.
thinking that they would have had a tier program of, ranking it right, and give a period, because then the work is then we need to make sure that then if we have to make it equitable, then when this program goes through, is we have to tell everybody, make sure that all the sources of communication are sent out, because we can't just focus on social media. We have to make sure the radio,
Yes.
because our community listens to the radio a lot. So
Yes, we're gonna have radio ads, and also, so that's why we're mailing it to every single household, because we don't want anyone left out. And so we're actually being really careful about the rollout as well. So like first, I'm gonna mail it first and then do the additional advertising, because to give people
Yeah.
a chance to
So-
learn about it.
are you gonna just recommendation, mail out the mailer, but the application period is gonna be, 2 weeks out when they get that mailer? Is that something, just because I don't want someone to if I don't check my mail until the end of the
Sure.
week, because my mailbox
We're
is
gonna
like,
give Plenty of time.
Do you
It'll be
understand
like
the
a
neighbor?
month or even
Okay.
2 months, because the way we're looking at everything, the way we're planning it, it could be a month or two. So yeah, I don't believe in just giving people 2 weeks. That's too short of a time. And especially people that have post office boxes or, or just, I don't check their mail so frequently. So we're gonna give them plenty of notice, and I want at least a month or two. So just know that, we're gonna be like advertising and then accepting the application.
Before, you're accepting before we open?
No, we're advertising the program before we even, you know what I mean? Like, we're gonna advertise it, let the community know about it first, and then let them sit on it, and then we'll accept the applications.
Oh, good.
Yeah,
Good. That was my.
yes.
Oh, good.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think before, I'm still on the same page, Dr. Figueroa. I think before, when we accept it, when we approve this item, we should have like a different scenario in terms of like lottery or ranking system. I don't think the first come, first served basis is fair at all. There's no, we don't use that for anything else, like. I mean, the only one we do it in, because there's more funds available for more people, is the green, for when people go from, from grass to desert landscapes. But, there's times where we have like, but this is a funding where people get up to $50,000, and that's going to go by a lot faster than the other programs that we have used that model. So I'm correcting myself. We use it for that rebate, the reimbursement program for desert landscape. But this is a little different. So it's a lot of money. It's an opportunity to, it's just hard. So that's my, I'm just thinking.
Thank you.
one more thing.
Selena, is it the first come, first serve, is that coming from the people who are providing? So-
Yes,
So when we do the advertising, we'll do mailers,
yes,
and then there'll be a gap between it goes social and online to give those who don't have access or
a fair chance.
a fair chance.
Absolutely.
And then there'll be a date for when they can submit the application.
Yes.
And then the application, can you provide a hard copy and submit online, or?
You know what? Actually, yes, that will be available to anyone that needs assistance. If someone needs to have it printed, or, there's going to be that option. Because that's something that we take very seriously here. We know that our residents are not always able to go, do online or the phone or whatever. So yeah, there's going to be hand holding, a lot of support, and that's what we want. We want people to feel comfortable, because this is a big investment, and I think it'll be a little scary even for the people that apply. So there's going to be a lot of support, and if they need to, have it printed and assisted in that way, that's going to happen.
I do think you guys have been very clever about how to do the community outreach, knowing that the first come, first serve. It was very clever to just, even though there's only so many applicants that can apply or that would be afforded the 50,000 or up to 50,000, which is, very small amount to the amount of mailers that we're gonna be sending out, but that would be the most fair process.
Yes.
And then my last question is, who's gonna be doing the analysis of costs? And so we have an applicant, and they're putting the list of the items that they want repaired.
There's going to be inspections, and then Habitat for Humanity will be conducting the assessment. So they'll be developing the cost estimates. So it'll be like a big team approach, because there's also, and I didn't want to bore people with this detail, but there's also some NEPA and environmental that will also occur as part of the process. So it's going to be kind of very comprehensive, because you're going to have the NEPA and the SHPO and the the floodplain stuff, watershed, blah, blah. All of that will be a part of the evaluation. So we'll have those inspections and, examinations, and then the assessment conducted by a professional that does this already. So Habitat for Humanity will be that partner that does that. And then there's actually going to be like a bid process as well. And so there's like various phases that are very involved and comprehensive. So we believe that, the program is very, very solid. So we're going with tried and true. We're not, experimenting with the unknown. So.
Yeah.
For the sake of fair process, I do enjoy very much when we go to a third party who comes in for the sake of fairness. And then I'm certain that when we get, I'm sure we're gonna get like thousands, of applications. But I hope that we have something in place because I'm sure some of the applicants, many of them are not gonna be meeting the criteria. And so then to file it and then go on to the next, and then make sure that the applicant then is notified as to why they didn't meet the criteria. So it is gonna be a lot of heavy work. So,
Yes,
so thank you for that.
thank you. Yes, sir.
Thank you. No more questions. We'll move on to the next item.
you.
Item number 11, update on equity and social justice ad hoc committee, subcommittee. Maritza.
So this item is before you just to give a quick update and also see if there is interest in adjusting the name of the ad hoc committee. We think that we will also get more interest. We currently have not received applications. I have sent it out directly to probably 2 handfuls, probably close to 12 at least different agencies. Actually, I did receive 2 applications from the senior center this week. So that is a little bit of an update from when the agenda was posted. But I'll be reaching out directly and in person next week to some of the same agencies that we've already reached out to. We have also really beefed up some of the social media coverage on this, and we've done some boosts, et cetera, to give some more visibility. We are asking to extend through November 1st, the application period, and asking to alter the name of the committee to Social Justice and Public Safety Ad Hoc Subcommittee. A small tweak from equity and social justice to social justice and public safety. And we have reached out to the agencies shown here. In addition, like I mentioned, the senior center will be reaching out also directly to DAP and also to the Desert Healthcare Foundation. But we do anticipate that many of these will probably respond. They just have not as of yet. And that's why we'll be making the personal in-person reach next week.
I'm fine with extended application. It's Dr. Figueroa. I think you brought this forward.
I like the.
What do you think about the name change?
I think it's good because it, does, the original language was also to look at public safety. So I think it's good.
You guys are fine with it. I'm fine with it. It's their project. Good.
We're good with it.
Thank you.
Awesome. Number 12, small business outreach.
Good afternoon, Mayor Pro Tem, council members. We had a lot of inquiry from different council members of the Economic Subcommittee to discuss small business outreach. We wanted to get, it was creating a lot of confusion among staff members, so we wanted to get a clear direction from the council, which direction you guys want us to go with this item. Once the PowerPoint goes up. We want to bring options to the council and see which direction we want. First option is to allow council members individually to do listening sessions with minimal staff participation, which includes city will provide a facility to conduct meetings, 1 or 2 staff members to answer any questions about current or past city programs or projects. City will provide refreshments. Option 2 was the city staff conduct the community outreach similar to the street vendor event that we did that was very successful, in which the city will provide the facility, will organize and advertise the event, will prepare the agenda per council's direction. Staff will participate in a panelist format where the council or the community will be able to address them and ask questions based on the agenda. City will provide refreshments. Please note, no city council members will be able to speak during this event due to the Brown Act. Option three is something we haven't done in a while, a town hall meeting, which it would be a city would provide the facility, city will organize and advertise the event, but the city council will sit as the panelist and be there for the community per the agenda that the council decides to go. We would advertise it for the Brown Act, and the city will provide refreshments. A fourth option is any alternative that the council wants to go with that we're open to. And, you know, the other discussion would be what kind of agenda items you would want to discuss if you go with option 2 or 3.
So, you know, I like option 2 or 3, but the number 2, how is it different from instance when we attended event Selena had in the library regarding some economic development? We were allowed to speak even though we approved it too. So how would this violate Byron Act, but other community events that also require future funding?
I don't know specifics of that event, but generally, we can't have a quorum at an event where you're speaking on items that come before the council.
Okay,
Some cities actually do have policies saying we only have less than a quorum attends public events. However, if we do get more than a quorum, then if it's an item of that a subject matter for the council, then maybe say hello, hi, but not speak on the item. Because at that
Okay.
point, it's a Brown Act violation because you have more than a quorum there.
and for town hall, would we require quorum?
Well, you do sometimes, if we know we're gonna have participation, we can just agendize it as a special meeting. So a lot of times when we know we're gonna have more than a quorum and we think council would want to speak, a lot of times it's a matter.
Would we
say-
require quorum to listen?
No,
No, okay.
if you have more than a quorum, yeah, you would more listening and maybe say hello, introduce.
For the
but
town
not-
hall, saying for the town hall to continue, would you need quorum?
No.
Okay,
Oh, well,
that's it.
I'm not sure which on the agenda.
Number 3,
Option 3.
for this event to happen, say only 2 people show up, we're fine.
Correct.
Okay.
I mean, you can have a quorum, but the quorum shouldn't be speaking on the item. of
Well,
whatever
but
interest.
this is a town hall with the quorum and we agendize it.
Yeah, if that was agendized, then
Yeah,
anybody can attend, anybody can comment. The entire city council could be there commenting on the items. So a lot of times when you know you're gonna have more than a quorum, and you know, council may want to speak, it's just safe better just to agendize it as a special.
all right. I like 2 and 3. You know, like the other, you know, I think as a council member, like it's not a full-time job. And like other large cities have, you know, each council member has like, you know, staff to help them put together events and be present. It's a little harder. I think what's more important, other than putting my name on an event, is for a community to be aware about these resources and about how we can support small businesses. And not so much council member Galarza is hosting this event. I think it's better if it's City of Coachella up in front, and then the delivery of the content is what matters. And so there might be a time where, you know, as someone has a full-time job, it might be, you know, where the event needs to continue and say I have a work emergency or a family emergency and I can't be present. But we count on our staff to deliver these conversations, who are the experts on this, our economic development team. So I'd prefer 2 or 3 and not 1.
So, Councilmember Figueroa and I have started initiating stakeholder meetings because we have been asking for the item just to start the discussion of the small business community. And so I did reach out to stakeholders, and from banks to financial institutions to the chamber to SBDC to multiple different types of establishments in the city of Coachella, from brick and mortar to food trucks to civic or social justice organizations as well. So we had a very, very good conversation, a roundtable discussion about identifying the needs and assessing, you know, where these challenges are for small businesses, because there are so many. When it comes to the small business community, there's different types of businesses, there's different types of requirements, there's just so much going on. And what we discussed that was in a meeting, when we have a town hall meeting or committee, which we've had, is that there's too much going on. So it goes on for 2 hours and there isn't enough time to dive into any specific area. And with the time and the answers and responses that it needs. So people are leaving, even more frustrated than they came in, because now they're being told even more challenges. So they're not feeling that they're really getting the support that they need. And so in the stakeholder meetings, and again, we had the chamber, we had the local chamber here. They all agreed is that we needed to really target all these different needs, and by doing workshops and sessions. So a variety of sessions where it would be, going into financial analysis, and that's what some of the banks and the financial institutions that were present were offering. And then also is, for SBDC to be teaching people how to apply for a permit, whether it's a city or whether it's a county, going all through the different processes, because there is a lot. And also being informed and educated on code compliance, which is completely different. That's a whole different ballgame. People have those challenges as well. And so it was discussed that that we would have a follow-up meeting. And so I would like to continue on with the follow-up meeting with the stakeholders, identify what sessions and workshop, which is what they're all working on. And these are large organizations. These are experts in their fields. They know what they're doing. They know where the challenges are. They know where they have support and they know where they don't, including we also have Spectrum, who's going to be participating, who's going to be identifying grants for people who need connectivity services. So I would like to continue to move forward the way we are, and then we'll bring back and then update City Council on the next meeting and then figure out how we want to move forward. But I do want to respect these experts in their fields who are really taking the time, and they're excited. They're really excited. They're doing their homework and they're coming back. So that's my recommendation.
Thank you.
Is that 1, 2, or 3?
That's option one.
So I've used option 2 before, because we just did the big street vendor ordinance.
Right.
And but I also see the value in option 1, where the option 1 has if you go back to option 1, right, like I think it's the construct of it where maybe you don't use the staff, maybe it's just like you use a staff, and I understand Councilmember Mayor Pro Tem Lars about that forefront of it's a city event, right? Because I think that's the important part, right? Because at the end of the day, it's the city providing those services, right? Because I think we should do that, but I do understand option 1's importance, right? Because you're able to if I went on to meet with the chamber, I went in there and talked to there, and like we should have a meeting with the different stuff, right? So I think that's the difference between like option 2, Councilmember Delgado and Councilmember Vegan were there, and I think the importance of that one is where the community has a space. But I think option 3, so I like all 3 options. That's where I'm going with this, so I'm not going to prolong the conversation. I think it's also it depends on the setting, because I think like a town hall, maybe you set a town hall for an item that's you want to have a large robust discussion, as opposed to maybe the other option is a smaller one where it's a select group and it's a little bit smaller and you grow from it. Because I could see that item, right? You grow from that, and then it becomes a larger item where you have a larger discussion, you have a community meeting, and it requires more staff time. But then you have to be cautious of staff, because sometimes what's that bandwidth looking like, right? So we do have not a large staff city, and so you need to take away time from other projects that are needed. So it's really looking at that. So that's kind of where I stand. So I'm okay with having those 3 options. It's just making sure that of those 3 options, when you choose something, right, making sure we're using efficient time. Yeah, I think that's, but option 1 is important, I think, to have, because I can, work with, the city manager and say, I want to do something, or, collaborate with other people to have that option for myself. But that's where, I stand, because I think it's not about choosing an option, it's about knowing the options we have as a council, and I think making sure, but like Councilwoman Delgado said, those listening sessions, turnout was really great. So mobilized it, and then it was able to come from that, and it was able to drive something from it. And so, and in my example is I worked with the city manager and did the street vendor one, with their help, and pushed it forward in a different way, because that was going to require more legwork, but it's, how does that look like in the long term run? So I'll just stay quiet now.
I think I agree that the staff time is very important. And if we had 5 council members pulling staff to 5 different media events, like even in the same month, it could drain our staff, and then it just be too complicated, I feel, on our staff too. I think if people want to have individual events, then they could do them without using our staff. You can host them, and continue having conversations. We have meetings many times as council members with chambers, with nonprofits on our own. Sometimes we pull a city manager, but the idea that we say we empower each of us to go 5 different directions, it can be a little hard. I think option 2 helps have a unified message for businesses, and having just a unified message coming out from the city. And so it'll be easier to understand where we're going and the resources that exist. Then if we have each council member, advocating for different items before we even vote on it and we're out there speaking, or say you host an event, and say the event that happened, I'm not sure, but say I'm in town and I want to drop by, now we're at quorum. How is a third council member excluded from attending a community event? I just feel that it's better if it's a unified message. We don't confuse community. We don't drive staff to many different directions. Agreed. I think in not in this discussion, and what we can continue doing on our own time without using city resources, is going and having these meetings and going and attending events and going and doing your own type of stuff. That's on your own time. If you want to use your campaign budgets for those, and that's okay too. But I just feel that when we're talking about resources and community, then that are going to be used from our staff, then it needs to be unified. I would understand the approach number 1 if we were a city that had 5 districts, and account in District 1, say Dr. Figueroa, you're District 1, I'm District 2, we have different needs in our districts. And so, yes, I would agree in that approach if we were a larger city that was divided into districts, but we're not. We're all elected at large. And so that's sort of where I'm coming from in this conversation.
Gabriel, have you hosted events? I think the city hosted one for the firehouse for the young professionals.
That wasn't a city
That was
sponsor.
in- There are other things that the city is participating in. I mean, you would agree with that,
Great.
that staff is involved in. And there isn't anything wrong with that. We use our resources, and it's quite the opposite, actually. We save you guys time, because that means that we're using, our resources to reach out to people. We're saving you time. And I was well aware of your guys's time constraint and challenges. So I said, you know what? And I called everybody up, and it was literally all the stakeholders. And so it's really more like a committee. It's more like a committee who's just experts in their fields for different small businesses, establishments. Again, financial institution, I really don't want to go into too much more of it.
Yeah.
But they've expressed and shared the challenges, and also is that they have access to funding and resources that we don't. And so it's critical for them to also bring that forward. So with that, we're not, for me, to be exclusive of anybody else, absolutely not. It's just having a more specialized meeting and getting direction, and then moving it to council. So it is going to be a city run event.
Dr. Martin, I think your team, heard the different topics today. We don't have an action item, so you heard the different conversations. I think you all can come back with an approach, hearing the different opinions and going from there, and bring it back to an action item. And so for next meeting. For now, there's no more comments or questions. I think it's time to move forward to the consent calendar.
Well, hold on. You have two members of council who have given you direction for option one. That's the direction.
There's no action item today, so I think you'll bring it back as an action item and we'll go from there.
But you don't have the support to bring it back as an action item. So it's to bring option one. So it isn't an action item right now, but we do
Right.
provide guidance and direction. And the guidance from the majority of this council is to go forward with option one. And so, and then I would
think Dr.
refer,
Figueroa mentioned he liked all three. I mean, you may be right, but I think you already spoke for him. Probably know how he feels, but he suggested he liked all three. I haven't heard him say, I think nobody here heard him say just one. It might be the case, you probably already know, but he hasn't said, this is my top one.
So I don't want to be restricted in when I can't and can't use certain things.
Yeah.
So, yes, you should be able to bring back item number one, opinion number one, but also where is it, you need to be able to provide us, the guidelines, right? Because with this, what you did today, you gave us guidelines on what they look like so we can follow them. And so it's, option one is having a specific type of committee, right? And looking at that. So, I want that one also, but I also want option two. And I feel like option three only exists in certain things. I think when you have a large town hall is because you're going to have a large discussion. Everyone goes back to that water meeting in 2012, like that's a town hall, right? So, right, that's where you use that, where it's like a large topic item where you really want to have discussion. So that's where I'll stay at my comments.
Thank you, Dr. Figueroa. I think you made
You
good,
understand the direction here, or yes?
yeah,
Want to make sure, okay.
good comments. I think.
Thank you, everyone.
All right, thank you so much. Moving forward, actually to written communications, I think we have something on written communications. We have an
No, those
attachment?
were just noted for the record,
Okay, you got it. Noted.
unless we do have some that were introduced, okay.
Okay, moving on to consent calendar. It is recommended the consent items to be acted upon simultaneously unless separate discussions and or action is requested by a council member or member of the audience. You're pulling, you have a motion to pull to
Motion to approve the consent calendar is presented.
a second?
I'll second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All right, moving on to agenda, to the new business calendar. Item number 25, resolution number 2023-65, acknowledging receipt of a report made by the fire chief of the Riverside County Fire Department regarding compliance with the annual inspection of certain occupancies pursuant of section 1314.6.2 and 1314.6.3 of the California Health and Safety Code.
Good evening, council, staff. My name is Chris Cox with the Office of the Fire Marshal, and I'm here tonight to discuss a little bit about this agenda item and to let you know that we, the Office of the Fire Marshal, performed all of the annual inspections for all of the facilities that we are mandated by the state to perform, including schools, hotels, motels, apartments, and certain skilled nursing care facilities. We performed all those inspections here in the city of Coachella with our staff. And I'm here to answer any questions that you may have, if there are any questions. That's about it. That's the program. It's a state requirement that we all the fire jurisdictions in the state report to the city councils or the governing body of the jurisdictions that the local fire authority has been able to perform all of these requirements, these inspections. And so council, the board, governing bodies are aware, and that if, for example, we weren't able to perform those, then we can make adjustments to any staffing levels or that sort of thing. So just you're being made aware that the Riverside County Fire Department, Office of the Fire Marshal, did fulfill the state requirement here in the city.
Thank you. I'll make a motion to adopt resolution number 2023-65.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any
Thank you, guys. Thank
Opposition.
you.
same? All right, moving on to item number 26. Authorize a grant in the amount of $25,000 to the Civil Rights Institute of the Inland South California to fund an exhibit by David Bacon entitled Working Coachella: Images of the Farm Worker Community in the Coachella Valley.
Yes, good evening again, council members. Selena Jimenez, Economic Development Director. The item before you is actually a phenomenal exhibition that the Civil Rights Institute of Inland Southern California would like to bring to the city of Coachella. And I do have a representative here, Ms. Sabrina Gonzalez. She's the Executive Director, and she will go ahead and guide us through her presentation.
Good evening, Mayor Pro Tem, City Council and staff here. My name is Sabrina Gonzalez, and I'm really appreciative to have the opportunity to speak to you today. I am the Executive Director for the Civil Rights Institute of Inland Southern California. And before getting into this exhibit, I want to tell you a little bit about the space that we have and hold in downtown Riverside. So we have named it Inland Southern California because we want to make sure that we are talking about all counties, so both Riverside and San Bernardino counties. We are located right in downtown across from the main library, behind Fox Theater and right across from Tio's Tacos, in case that's your reference point. And the idea behind the space was that it's a three-part partnership between us, the Civil Rights Institute, Fair Housing Council of Riverside County, and Wakeland Housing Corporation, Development Corporation. And it is a mixed-use project. There's 72 units above our 60 units and then 12 townhouse style. So that's the housing part, it's affordable housing. 20 to 25 of those are dedicated to veterans that are currently houseless, on the verge of being houseless. And on the first floor is the Civil Rights Institute, which is the centerpiece of this 92,000 square feet plaza. And that is dedicated to recognizing, memorializing our regional history. So it's kind of a first of its kind. Then we have a diversity center and community room that hosts community space and brings partners in, community organizations, and we're kind of reducing the barriers to information getting out to our community members. And then it also is space for the Fair Housing Council offices. The space is really important to us. So the mission of the Civil Rights Institute is really to be a vital center for inclusion and to memorialize our region's civil rights history. We also want to make sure we're shaping its future, right? So through social history stories, cultural, civic, and educational engagement, this space is vital for us to have pride in our region, but also talk about where we need to continue to make progress and that we need to champion change for our future. So these are some photos so you can see our exhibition and gallery. Our current exhibition is called Still I Rise, the Black IE Fight for Justice, and it's dedicated to telling the story of the Black community and the progress. The reason why it's called Still I Rise is because even though there's some harsh truths that we have to talk about that happen in our region, that they were still able to progress forward. There's much progress that's happened, and we wanted to continue to champion that progress. So you see here what our exhibition space looks like. And I bring that up because I want you to know that we're really dedicated to this cause. We've only been open to the public since January, so about 9+ months. And we're getting about 100 to 125 people come through our space, and we have about 600 to 650. I'm really excited to report in the month of September, we actually had 747 people come through our community space. And that's a big deal for us because I'm the only full-time staff. We have one other part-time staff and we have minimal. When you guys talk about social media and the importance of it, we're finding that out recently that if you put out a good cause and you build it, I like to say that this is for community, by community, with community. And we had some visionaries, Rose Mays, Lala Acharya, and we have a really dedicated board. And so as we're thinking through our next exhibitions, one that was really important to us is telling the story of Coachella and Coachella Valley specifically. So I want to pass this, and I'm not sure who's seen this, so if this is. Thank you.
Oh, yeah.
This is perspectives. Show a little bit more.
Thank you.
So I have it up here on the screen as well. So for us, again, as I mentioned, this first exhibit was to tell one story, but we want to continue to tell the different stories in the community. So on our site from January through May, We have about 1,500 square feet. We're going to be dedicating Working Coachella, images of the farm worker community of the Coachella Valley, and it's photographs by David Bacon. David Bacon, we made sure because we are dedicated to telling the voice of the community and ensuring that the voice is someone that kind of has been vetted and has been dedicated to the community. So David Bacon has a long-standing community, I'd say, buy-in and kind of a hats off to being a part. He worked in the Coachella Valley, he was well connected to the UFW and some other great organizations in the community. And so he's put through this collection of 30 years of photography. It was actually picked up by Stanford's archive. And so this is really a true way to dedicate and show support to this program. So as you see, it's also a very current term, and that's something that we want to talk about. Our space is dedicated to the history, but we also want to make sure that our programming is looking forward thinking. So something as you see in this newspaper article that we put in this slideshow is that this is still something that needs to be discussed, and we need to draw attention to it. Not only to uplift the community that's doing that actual work, but talk about what's happening next and how do we champion it for future things. So you'll see the next one. This is kind of just giving you some details about it, right? The project's mission is really to help win respect for the culture and the labor of the indigenous workers who produce the food that we eat, right? We need to understand the reality, but we also need to kind of remove this lens of always being disparaging. A lot of times when our region is talked about, it's talked about in a negative way, and we want to remove that while also still talking about the difficult truths and how do we progress this forward. So it's really building on a long-term partnership with David Bacon. He's a photographer, he's a journalist, but also talking about California's legal aid services for farm workers, the California Rural League of Assistance, as well as the Binational Front of Indigenous organizations. So what you're seeing are some of the photos. It's just a small glimpse into what we want to present. So the entire piece is about 50 photos, and you'll see that in our exhibit. So the idea is to bring it to Riverside, get some regional, draw attention from it. It's not lost at me as the executive director that the Civil Rights Institute is this new shiny object, and I want to use that to draw attention to the right communities. And so we demonstrate in these beautiful photos, they'll be captioned and given texts that are both in English and in Spanish on site. We're currently getting them translated, but I present them in English to you today. So you see this one, again, beautiful imagery. This is hands to talk about the works, the palmeras. And you see Carlos Chavez here for over 20 years that he worked in the date palms. This next image is to discuss family and the importance of it, right? So when we talk about the work that's happening, a lot of these families are doing work so that their children have different opportunities, but they're also doing some of this work. So it's a way for us to discuss both concepts and also uplift that family, the importance of family, culture, work ethic is still embedded in generations to come. You see another photo where we're also talking about housing. So we're finding a way to kind of bring intersectionality. So not only are we discussing the farm workers, but we're also talking different elements. We're talking about housing, environmental racism, family, work ethic, the needs and the supports, and how do we uplift this community. Also just really humanizing. And that's what we want to do at the Civil Rights Institute, is bringing these concepts and understanding it. And so what you see is what we're putting up in our space, and we are asking for this grant to actually bring this to the city of Coachella. So it's beautiful that we're bringing it to downtown Riverside, and we want to show and champion it there, but it's even more important that we actually bring it to the community in which it exists. We went forward through the Arts and Culture Commission last week, or time is blurred, so maybe a little bit more past that, but we want to discuss it and show the importance of it. So you see this photo. And so we're going to lead these photos also into having panel discussions. So one that I would like to have is a conversation on environmental racism and what that is still today and what that looks like. And then you see we're doing a variety of pieces. So it's not just out in the field, but it's the different components of it. And this one is a photo of women and the importance of women in this work, and they're not always shown. So again, another concept that is beyond just one component of it. This is a photo of an irrigator, a turf farm, right? They're really well done. This is just a glimpse into it, but we're hoping to bring it here, allow community members to feel confident in the work and work from here. This programming slide that you see here, this is what we're actually doing at the Civil Rights Institute, but we're dedicated to ensuring that there's programming that's mirrored here in the Coachella Valley. We'd obviously look for local community groups to help us in supporting that, but that's what we have a specialty in. And that's why we're getting the 600 to 650 people that are coming into our space. And so we want to build that out here. So our opening reception, we're hoping to have a special guest speaker, David Bacon. We've had some other community leaders that are going to come by. We want to have an open house family public event that also embeds art and for community. So sort of like a First Sundays where we have our young people learning to color, talk about what do they want to see? Why is it important to support our farm workers? What are the needs? And kind of building a concept of understanding some activism, but done in a way that is very age appropriate. And then we'll have different panels that I discuss, right? Environmental racism, the Bracero program. I also would like to discuss some of the even more positive things, right? There's a huge push of the recent rise of Latino politicians from Coachella, especially in our younger generations. So let's highlight that. Let's talk about it and let's bring more dialogue around it. And then we also, myself being a book nerd, but we want to bring in a lot more author events. So there's a lot of children's books that are coming out about our farm workers. So I'd love to connect with our local and regional bookstores and have that Civil Rights Institute, but then also help support it for happening here. We have received some sponsorship from community already. Lift to Rise is a huge supporter of us. They were actually the first group that came out to our space and were presented this material. Todec is our first official sponsor, which we're really excited about. And then we also have built some great connection with RAP Foundation, and they're looking potentially to be our presenting sponsor for the exhibit that's happening at the Civil Rights Institute. This is some more information on David Bacon, just to tell you that it was really important to us. Someone as a woman of color, I always talk about the concept of a lot of our stories are told from a different lens. So we made sure to vet David. We talked to a lot of individuals before we even moved this forward to ensure that this is a story that will be championed. And the goal would be eventually to turn this into something virtual so that it lives on in our digital archive. We just received some money to do so. And so we want to make sure that this is long lasting and a continued conversation. And the way to start that is to move it from the Civil Rights Institute and run it here from June through August. We've checked out some venues. There was a venue shift, but we're looking to potentially have this in the meeting space at your new library just across the way. And to be able to invite community members, have some opening celebrations, and then be able to work together to ensure as many community members have accessibility to see this.
So from June to August, we'll have them up in the wall because it'll be open, like we'll still have our ongoing events and programming in those spaces.
Yes, and Selena, can I speak a little bit more?
I can
Okay.
speak to that. So the exhibition will be timed so that we don't conflict with COD or any other, programming that typically Maritza will have programmed there. So the exhibition will not be in conflict with any of those events. So they're going to be here just in 2024 between, we're hoping mid-May to like mid-August. And then Dawn and Dawn is a designer here. She is going to be creating very specific, and this is why the grant funding request is what it is, because we need to have like proper displays. And so she has to build them and design them and all this good stuff. And so because we're preserving our walls and all that, we're not going to be punching holes or anything like that. So so it's going to be really beautiful. They've done a phenomenal job at the location in Riverside. I've seen pictures and it's beautiful. So I think this exhibition is also going to be well received and just really beautiful.
And we hope that it's a start for us to continue to build the arts and culture. You guys have a beautiful scene, you have the murals, you've done so many projects. So we hope this will continue to champion that, help it. So that's where we're being very cognizant of what our design looks like and how to build it out so that we're not destroying the space, but actually uplifting it, inviting people to have more creative ideas for it.
I like that. I do suggest maybe we move it a little when it's less hot, like closer in the, like thinking about an economic development approach. Like how do we invite people to come out and watch this? Not a lot of people come out in like to July and August. People, it's hot. We stay indoors. And so it's like, is there an opportunity to, I know might be a little busier, but busy might be good and having a reason for people to come out here and see it. I'm just thinking out loud, but I do think like, being able to, just June, July, and August are the hottest months here. and it's not an attractive time for people to visit the desert.
So we were thinking, so the reason why we have that is that we have this on loan from David Bacon. So sorry, we have it on loan from David Bacon. So this is the time frame that works best because we've already designated the Civil Rights Institute's component. So we were just hopeful that because this is an indoors thing and it's an air conditioning, that it would actually invite people to have something to do and you walk through. We're going to try to make it as interactive as possible. So it's actually more inviting. It's like, go to the movies, but you have something a little bit more educational to do. And we're working with you and want to make sure that the program can highlight that too, so that the programming is indoors and it feels like something worth coming out for, and of a substantial amount of time that is a break from the heat.
Good. Any questions, comments?
I think during the summer, it's always such a great opportunity for families to take their kids and make it a good family day. So
We're hopeful that we uplift it so much in some ways that we will also want people in Riverside, out this way, San Bernardino, so they can see it actually embedded in the community.
thank you.
Thank you. If there's no more questions, I'll call motion to approve.
Motion to approve the authorization of grant in the amount of 25,000 to the Civil Rights Institute of Inland Southern California to fund the exhibition.
I hear a second.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition? Any abstentions? Moves forward 3-0.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. I'm very excited
Yeah.
about this project.
Congratulations. We look forward to welcoming you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Moving on to item number 27, resolution number 2023-69, establishing and adopt a park and adopt a street program.
Hi, good evening, council.
Hi.
Hi, the item before you, we had some interest from a local business in adopting a street. And we had actually toyed with this idea internally about adopting a park before. This is a program that a lot of cities do have, not all cities.
Yeah.
There's not many cities actually in the valley that have these formal programs. But it does provide an opportunity for civic engagement and for pride in the community, and allows us to be able to drive those that do have an interest in providing some volunteer hours into a program that's already vetted and formed and has structure. So we have created Adopt a Park and Adopt a Street programs very similar. The commitment is a 2-year program with a minimum of quarterly, basically, activity, right? So they would have to do some kind of cleanup on a quarterly basis, either at the park or at the street segment that they adopted. The street segment would be a 1-mile area, and a park, they can pick any park. Essentially, they've got to fill out an application, make the 2-year commitment, keep to the quarterly cleanups. And at the end of that 2-year, they get to keep the sign that has their group's name on it. They get T-shirts that say that they were Adopt a Street or Adopt a Park participants, and they get a recognition from council at the end of their 2-year
And
commitment.
they can continue right after 2 years.
And they can reapply, of course.
Yeah, no, I'm familiar with this, or I, as a student, that when you see Riverside has adopted
Yes, they
street,
do. City of.
and I know an organization I was involved in, we're very prideful of the street that we had, and we would clean it up, and so I think it's a great program, and one to, raise some money, but also to be able to engage people, create volunteerism and different opportunities. What's the money, like how much people can donate to Adopt a Street?
So this program is not monetary in any way.
Okay,
It's simply volunteer.
so their ask would just be to clean it, or?
Yeah, it would simply be, it's a program for volunteerism. It's really focused on volunteerism. It has no monetary component to it.
Can we add a monetary component
Um,
for the Park Foundation? I mean, if
like that, the group that wants to adopt a park that's gonna do the cleanings are gonna, who's gonna give the money?
yeah, well, our Park Foundation can get the money.
That the Park Foundation would give?
Well, no. People that want to adopt, it's if you put, say Rotary puts their street, their name on the street, that's a prideful thing. There could be a monetary component to it. Their logos are on the street. Is it not common for it
No,
to be a monetary component too?
No.
Okay, and I must have been confused with different program, but I think, at the end of the day,
We did
Yeah.
research over 10 cities in
Good.
putting this together. None of them have a monetary component. It is a simply volunteer based.
Okay.
program. We do have a foundation, so we would be able to accept a monetary donation to the Parks and Rec Foundation at any time if one of those groups would also like to donate to the foundation.
Yeah, I mean, I explore that thought just because if someone donates some, like if they want to have like their street, their logo on the street, it says.
Now, it only stays on there for the 2-year period that they've adopted it, and then
Correct.
it comes down.
Right, and it'd be nice to be able to get something out of it, like, but it's fine the way it is. I don't want to.
Yeah, I think the way that it's intended is that the return that the city is getting is that volunteerism, right? So.
Good. Any other comments, questions? Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve resolution number 2023-69.
Second,
Second.
all's in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposition? Any abstentions? Motion carries 3-0. Moving on to item number 28, city council meeting discussion. Dr. Martin?
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem, members of the city council. This item was requested by Councilmember Delgado and Councilmember Dr. Figueroa to identify reasons behind cancellations, how to adjust, reschedule council meetings instead of canceling them. They also requested information, city council meeting from January 1st, 2021 to December 31st, 2023. This is the information. In 2021, we had 16 regular meetings, 8 special meetings, 7 study sessions, and 5 cancellations. In 2022, we had 15 meetings, 2 special meetings, 3 study sessions, 4 cancellations. And currently in 2023, we've had 12 meetings, 6 special meetings, 2 study sessions, and 5 cancellations.
The total cancellations, do you include the two in August that we usually go
No,
dark?
I excluded the dark ones,
Okay.
because those are just traditionally dark. One of the questions was rescheduling, just please keep in mind that logistically it would be difficult because this is the only room that has Zoom capabilities. And we share this space with the Mexican consulate. So week 3, this is being used by the Mexican consulate. During the off weeks, week 2 and week 4, we have city council meetings, but week 1, we have planning commission meetings, economic development subcommittee meetings, cultural arts commission. Week 3, we have Parks and Rec commission, planning commission, and sometimes we'll have the public safety subcommittee, and now this new ad hoc committee that's going to come forward. So space is pretty limited when we come to rescheduling. So that being said, I would like to open up this item for discussion.
What's the action on this?
That's a discussion.
Okay, so it should have been in discussion. There's no action today.
Correct.
Okay. Councilmember Delgado, Councilmember Dr. Figueroa, you guys brought this forward.
One item would be no, we talked about, the in-person is needed, right? And so, this is a question for Carlos, if you can, bring it back to where do you stay with the Zoom item? Right, like, yeah, for council participation via Zoom, and what if that needs to be an actual council policy, or if that's a general item, just in scenario, that's just one thing, looking at how does that help, with that, or in that sense, because I know some cities, some people, if they're like, childcare or things like that, or they're on a city business, they can participate. But
Correct. So that's more for like individual council members if they.
yeah. So like, what is that rule guideline when it comes to like, so do you have to have so many people on the dais in person to the other?
There's 2 provisions. I don't have them in front of me, but previously under state law, we're allowed to have virtual meetings during COVID, during the state of emergency. Once the governor rescinded that state of emergency, we were left going back to the traditional form of council members participating, what's called teleconferencing, which would require when the agenda goes out, we need a list where the council members calling in from, and we need to post it at that location. And that location needs to be available to the public. That's still available. So if a council member needs to participate through that method, we could still provide for that, which is indeed the list from where on the agenda you're calling in from. there was new legislation that was adopted by the legislature and approved by the governor, and that provides for 2 areas where individual members can also participate teleconferencing. You need to have either one, it's either during what's called during an emergency, and it defines what an emergency is, and I can send you the specifics, I don't have those top. But if it is an emergency, the council itself has to vote that it is an emergency. And in that situation, then you can participate remotely for that meeting. There is another provision that allows for just cause, right? To care, you're sick, you're traveling on official business of the city. In that situation, the law does allow you to participate remotely under that just cause provision. All of these provisions though do limit the amount of time you can do it. It's generally like 3, I forgot off the top of my head, it's like 3 times, 4 times a year. So it's not supposed to be a permanent solution. It's just supposed to be a solution where either 1, you have a reason for, or 2, it's an emergency. And those are the new, and I can forward you the specifics of those. And the other one is just, we would list the traditional ones, we would have to list on the agenda where you're calling in from, and then you can participate remotely on those.
I know that as council members, we have responsibilities and it's difficult to attend meetings. But I strongly believe in having a space that's open to the public to be able to come in and make public comments. You know, we have that responsibility. It's our job. You know, we wanted to run for office. We know the responsibilities to it. We have an obligation to provide meetings. It's just, you know, there's not much conversation to it. We have that responsibility. Just like employees have their responsibilities of being here on time and having their daily tasks and duties that they're responsible for. As council members, it's also our responsibility to make sure that we have meetings. And so when we're looking at like November, where we have, you know, it gets canceled because there's a holiday, and I get it, but you know, we have to look at other days where we can be available to have the meeting. So I don't agree with, hey, that week is a holiday, therefore canceled meeting, that's it. So basically we're going dark more than just August. So for those folks that are listening, we go dark in August, and then we go dark in the last 2 weeks of December. And I think that extends to the first 2 weeks of January. But then, you know, when you're thinking about that, then we also go dark then every time that there's a holiday. So we go dark half of November, because it happens to be that our meeting is scheduled on the third week. You know, so many cities will have their city council meetings on the 2nd and 4th week to avoid cancellation. It's the reason why they do that. And so the reason I asked for this item to come forward is that we identify other ways that we can continue to have all meetings that we have scheduled. It's just, I mean, that's just our responsibility. I understand that there's subcommittee meetings and there's commission meetings, but we do have 2 facilities. And so there's no reason why they can be moved to one facility and us to another, or they can then move to earlier meetings as well. I mean, you know, there's a lot of really smart people in this room. I think that we can, you know, think of other ways and other options and alternatives so that we can continue to do our obligation as a government agency to provide spaces where our residents can come in and speak on matters that they have issues and concerns with. This is how we become accessible to people. When we're talking about accessibility, this is it. And so I am asking that we come up with alternatives to some of these cancellations. And if that means if there's an openness into moving it meetings to the 2nd and 4th week so that we avoid holiday cancellations, then for me, I support that.
We're currently at 2nd and 4th weeks. Second and fourth Wednesday of the month.
So then we can maybe do 1 and 3rd. I mean, what it comes down to is that we avoid the holiday weeks. And if we fall on a holiday week, then we identify another day that we can have it on Monday or maybe Thursday, If there's a planning commission meeting, then again, we don't all have to be in this chamber. As a city, that we're very fortunate in is that we do have two chambers. Many cities don't. We have two chambers, so even less reason why we should not be able to move one meeting to another, considering that we have two public spaces.
I think they're alluding to staff time, we don't have like additional staff to prepare more agendas, more reports on the same week, so it's just, that's what they're referring to, like the holidays, for instance. I know it's us, but it's also the staff, like, if we come back the second week of January, like it's the week that, a lot of staff are just coming back from their holiday vacation, and to force them to prepare a report and an agenda item on their holiday during like New Year's, it's a lot for our staff. We know how hard they work throughout the year, and so yeah. But I mean, I think you and I have really good attendance, so I concur. We have these meetings, access to the community and listening and being present. I don't think we're not doing that. It's we're younger staff. We're younger council than most councils, so a lot of times, these councils were created for people that don't look like us. The way that we're paid versus people that get, for instance, like healthcare, like council members get good healthcare but get really bad pay, right, to be a council. So some people that work full time then now have to, and they're out for work conferences or others, and we have to juggle two things, right? And so it's a lot to debate and go back and forth. I think we had long meetings, and we're doing what we need to do to get by. If there's other ways, I encourage you to bring them up, but I would refrain from demanding more for staff when they're on holidays.
So just to make this, we're not moving the times that we go dark. That's not what we're discussing. We're just talking about the actual cancellations. So I just want to separate, what Councilmember Galar say. It's separate from the months that go dark. So we're not touching those. I'm not asking to touch those. What I am asking is when we have like lack of quorum, there just happens to be one meeting in November that falls under the holiday, but the rest of them do not. And so I would never ask staff the word demand is pretty strong. No one's demanding anything, but we do have a responsibility to provide meetings. And I'm talking about the meetings that we have canceled. And actually it becomes even harder in my mind, because I'm thinking if I was an executive, I would have a timeline of when things have to come through. There's deadlines, we're all working. And so when there's a canceled meetings, that means that they then have to push it to the next meeting. And we've run into this situation. How many special meetings have we had?
But not all of them are because we canceled them. Some of them are because we were in an emergency, like Hurricane Hillary. Like a lot of these have been special meetings for other reasons, not because.
So we do have quite a bit of special meetings, and yeah, there are some that need to happen, but the majority of them is because there was a canceled meeting, and then we had to the following week had to schedule a meeting because we have deadlines. There's developers, there's lots of things that we have to meet, and so it just comes to the responsibility and the professionalism and the maturity of a city to have meetings. That's all I'm saying, is that we need to have our meetings. I'm not asking about the dark out months. I'm not asking about that. I'm just asking when we are canceling a meeting, is that we figure another way to be able to still hold those meetings. No different than our neighboring cities. That's all.
Yeah, staff will look at alternatives for cancellation meetings and.
Yeah, you can, we have a new deputy city clerk, and I think, really, I like working with her and really, working with her office, and seeing how you can really address, right? How can you shift, right? Knowing in the future what might happen and shift to ensure, we're meeting those deadlines for, developers or, events that need to get approved and stuff like that. Cause I just want to make sure we, like today we approved this really great $25,000, civil rights landmark institute, right? And so things like that, that doesn't get, stalled or delayed, and, really helps, bring great programs to our city. So in that sense, so.
No, I concur. I know though that we haven't missed a grant because we canceled a meeting. Right, Selena? So it's not an issue. I think it's a here, it's in theory, it could happen, but it hasn't happened. Selena? Okay, yeah, no, I think, this item doesn't have an action item. I think I'm hearing from the Councilmember DeGalo that maybe first or third, maybe you could bring back an actual action item that discusses like, whether like we move from, the meetings that have not been scheduled, whether we choose instead of the second and fourth, let's try out first and third Wednesday evening. I'm open to that conversation on how we can, be more robust and being present. I think evenings are, if we find maybe you can look at study and turn into the calendar year, how many holidays don't fall on, like versus second and fourth versus first and third. And we find there's less holidays, then we can move forward. I think, it doesn't solve the January issue. We'll still have to cancel that first meeting, but moving forward, like February and onward, would a first and third be, would it be less interfere with less holidays? Because I think, as a council, as a staff, we have a really cool system with 410s. A lot of folks envy that type of system. And so that, we want to make sure that we have enough time for our staff to prepare these agenda items and that we have these meetings that are productive. So I'm open to suggestions, but I think today there was no actual agenda action. So any more comments before we move forward to adjourn to public hearing, public comments?
So Gabriel, I think is if you can find any alternatives for some of those cancellations, I think that would be wonderful. And the dark out months, just in case people missed it, our dark out months is August, and then the last 2 weeks of December and the first 2 weeks of January. So just to make that clearer that those are not being discussed.
Thank you. All right, great. Any more comments? Great, very good. Moving forward, the public may address the city council, board, corporation, authority on any item of interest to the public that is not in the agenda, but is in the subject matter jurisdiction of thereof. Please limit your comments to 3 minutes. Anyone in the public?
We have one guest speaker. His name is Eric Lemos.
Hey, Eric, you have about 3 minutes.
Hello, good evening, council. My name is Eric Lemus. I am the programs manager and production director for Culturas Music and Arts and our music festival, Synergy. I foremost just want to thank you guys for once again sponsoring us. As you know, this has been a long running over 10 years of this festival, and what this festival has done to this community has not only touched my life, but the many lives of our local artists, our young artists, our upcoming artists, our community members, and also foremost folks that can afford a $400 or $500 music festival. As you guys may know, my background is in production and also in social justice equity, working with many nonprofits here in the Eastern Coachella Valley. And so this Synergy has really been a way to culminate all our efforts. As you know, it doesn't take one person, but it takes a village to build a festival. And so, this is a way for us to continue to highlight the rich culture that we have here in Coachella, but also begin to create growth and diversity for non-traditional artists. As you know, we have a very big Chicano Latino culture here, in which we continue to bring dedication, with the mural arts, with the car show, with indigenous culture arts. And as you guys know, I also co-produce other music festivals here in the Eastern Coachella Valley, Chela, Indio Tamale Festival. And so I bring a lot of expertise into this year's Synergy Music and Arts Festival. And so I want to extend an invitation to council and to foremost the community that we have something very special. We are continue to work with HV Luxury Design, and which you guys have already worked with on many of the productions here in the city of Coachella. And so together we've put something very beautiful, and we just hope that you come out. And we just want to thank you once again for helping us with this year's Synergy Music Festival. Thank you.
Thank you.
Erica, that's a great event you all put together, you know, Culturas, Music and Arts and everyone. It's, again, you mentioned it's free to the community and all the great work. So, you know, the great work that you all do does not go unnoticed. And I just want to thank you for, you know, you volunteer a lot of your time for this, you know, you have a great background and not a lot of people, yeah, I've seen you in Vegas and all these other festivals here and, you know, so it's great that you bring your talents and then serve it. And, you know, it's a good example to many other youth and, you know, growing adults that go out, gain some talents and then bring it back and provide a free event for communities, along with Ruben, Yaya, and the Culturas family that are doing this. Had a chance to go for, you know, a while now, and it's always a great time for us as young adults, but also for our kids, you know, and others. So it's an event inclusive of all ages and people and walk of life. So great stuff. Thank you. Any other public comments? No, moving forward to council reports. Councilmember Delgado.
I don't have much to share. I am going to be attending the CVEP conference. I was not able to attend this morning. I did have plans to do so, but unfortunately there was an accident in my family. I could not attend. We did go to the we did go to the League of Cities conference. And as always, it's very educational and informational on many things that other cities are moving on and challenges and accomplishments that we can learn from and take in as well. I still think that some of our executive team members should be panelists at the League of Cities, and I'll be advocating for you guys. There's a lot that we've accomplished here, and I really do think that you become experts in many topics, and I would like to see you there talking about you know, not only the accomplishments but also the many things that you guys have gone through and the challenges and how you've overcome them. So I will be putting in a request as well for next year, is that maybe they reach out to some of you and see how you can join on some of those conversations. Other than that, that's it. I did attend El Grito. It was really well attended. I think that Sunday worked for me much better than Saturday. And the reason is I've seen a lot more families out there. I think it was a nice thing for many to have something to do on Sundays. Normally on Saturdays, you know, we have family events or, you know, celebrations that we need to attend. And so it makes it a little bit more challenging. But I've seen a lot of people attend on Sunday, and everybody seemed to be having a really good time. It always makes me happy to see other people happy. Outside of that is it. Thank you.
Dr. Figueroa.
Just some comments. I did get to attend the League of Cities, and there was some really good sessions. And aside from the sessions, I think the networking and talking to other city council members and other city staff across the state, I think is very informative. Seeing what other cities are doing and facing. I just had, we can talk about mosquitoes for like a minute because everyone loves mosquitoes. It is, you know, I just had the mosquito vector control meeting yesterday, and I think the big, you know, we really need to address, you know, our community. You know, you see standing water outside, make sure you pour it out. I know, you know, change your dog's water bowl. Because it is a high percentage of West Nile virus and active in the community, and they have been spraying. So we did get those notices from the mosquito vector control district, and getting people to really understand the importance of doing that. And if they have any, you know, questions, they should always reach out to that mosquito district. Went to the CVEP conference this morning for their breakfast. I was able to get the informational packet. There was a really good speaker on entrepreneurship and, you know, really what's going on in the valley, valley-wide, and the entrepreneurship. So I think that was really informative, highlighting what we still need to do as a city. Hopefully, you know, Selena was there to make sure we can, you know, how do we increase entrepreneurship in our city, getting small business started in our city. And then there was the street vendor ordinance meeting. Was really well attended. I think there's some work there to be done still, so, waiting on, see what staff brings back for that one. And then I'll be attending the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce meeting tomorrow, sitting with the Burrell Institute, invited me to sit with them tomorrow, so looking forward to that. And I really do want to see how we can work with the Burrell Institute, Dr. Martin, see how we can bring information. I think, maybe do a session at the senior center, information, different type of information that they might not know exists. So where we can bring it more. And then we can schedule maybe a meeting with the DAP, the new owners of that big clinic in Coachella, see how we can see what they're planning to do here in Coachella and have a vision of what they're looking to do in services and continuous services in our city. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I have nothing to report. City manager.
Thank you, council. For the next October 25th meeting, we're gonna have a study session on the street vendor ordinance. The goal is to bring it for final review, the draft, and then have the first reading in November and then the second reading in December. Also, I just purchased a table, and I apologize for the tardiness, to the Desert Hispanic Chamber of Commerce event tomorrow, Thursday, from 6 o'clock to 10 o'clock at the Palm Valley Country Club. I'll send everybody a calendar invite. We'll have a table of 10, so if anybody can attend from the council and staff, we'll send out those calendar invites tonight. So apologize for that, and no other comments.
Thank you.
Got it. Meeting adjourned at 8:12.